So, as many of you know, I'm a huge fan of both Star Wars and Dragon Ball. They're two big things I grew up with, and recently it's come to my attention that there have been some new characters introduced to both universes, Dragon Ball and Star Wars, that have gotten a lot of criticism. Mainly, they have been referred to as Mary Sues, and I'm talking about Rey from Star Wars, both The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Episode 9 coming out next year, and Caulifla, who's been introduced to Dragon Ball Super in the Tournament of Power arc. And a lot of fans don't like these characters because they are referred to by them as Mary Sue. So I wanted to do this video where I wanted to discuss if there's any validity to them being Mary Sues, and if so, which one is, which one isn't, and kind of compare the two. So, first of all, if you have not seen The Last Jedi, this video will contain some spoilers for that, so I'm giving you a warning now ahead of time. And if you're looking for my content covering that, that's over on World of Geekdom, my second channel. I do tons of videos on not just Star Wars, but movies and pro wrestling and things like that. But I want to discuss Caulifla because, this is a Dragon Ball channel mostly, and kind of her impact on Dragon Ball Super. And like I said, see if there's any kind of, if there's any merit to it. So joining me is the guy who actually had the idea for this topic. He's been here before. If you enjoyed the breakdown that we did about Frieza versus Goten, this is a little bit more of a in-depth analysis versus a power scaling argument, because obviously Caulifla would destroy Rey easily, all right? We can't even argue that, all right? But it's still a fun topic. Please welcome Chuck back to the channel. Hello.
Hey guys, so we're gonna be stepping into some real deep controversy on this, because people usually they don't want to admit it, but these characters are really criticized all the time, right? And whenever you try to bring something up, they'll say, oh, you just hate women, or you hate this and this. But that is not the case at all, and we're actually going to be proving this going by in-canon lore and interviews, stuff like that, to back up why a character might be more of a Mary Sue than the other, and what it really means to be a Mary Sue.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to start with that because I think when people use the word Mary Sue, and I'm not a huge fan of the word, to be honest with you, the phrase, I think people don't understand what Mary Sue actually means, and it's not a female thing. There's also male characters that are referred to as Gary Stews. Essentially, actually, why don't you explain to the people what is the actual definition of a Mary Sue so that people know the real definition of it?
All right, so Mary Sue, or Gary Stew, it is used to refer to a character that basically never seems to lose. They have everything handed to them, or it is really easy for them to achieve, victory, or an ability, or, to basically progress through the story. It's a lot easier for them, right? And people usually like that, but when you overdo it, it definitely does get to a point that you're like, okay, really? Like, do we really have any development for these characters?
And it's the same with Gary Stews, too. It's not a woman thing. It doesn't matter what your gender is. Any overpowered character tends to be somewhat disliked.
So the whole claim that it is apparently, against women, I mean, it can be applied to men, too. I mean, for example, Superman, when he was written really awfully during the Silver Age, he would barely lose. And he had, all these powers handed to him because the writers, they had no clue what the hell they were doing. And that's why they had to retcon him, and then that's why Superman started to lose more and more. He had to develop his powers or abilities. He's a very good example of being a Gary Stew because he barely lost during that arc, or that era. And if Rey or Caulifla were males, it would still apply, going by what we've seen in the series. So their gender does not matter at all. They could literally be a guy, and it would still be the same.
Well, the whole idea is that both of these characters are coming into an already established universe. We have, prior to the introduction of Rey, we have 6 Star Wars films before that, plus I don't know how many novels and TV shows and whatnot that have covered Star Wars, canon, non-canon, doesn't matter. Dragon Ball, same thing. Tons of episodes before Caulifla was even an idea, and we recently found out that it wasn't even Toriyama's idea originally. Kale was a idea from Toei, and then Caulifla was drawn by Toriyama to be her sidekick or her friend or whatever. So
they're more than friends, reason. Let's be real here.
Maybe. Well, the whole thing is that they are characters that are brought in and they were criticized because they're too powerful. Now, who do you want to start with, Caulifla or Rey?
I believe we should start with Caulifla because people, there's some things that do justify her progress, but there's still some things that we need to cover for sure. And I believe we should first start with the whole thing about how these Saiyans evolve differently from the Universe 7 Saiyans, and logically from statements that we've seen in the series that actually kind of back up why Caulifla might seem like a Mary Sue.
Yeah, in other words, the Universe 6 Saiyans, it was stated to us a long time ago, they don't have tails like Universe 7 Saiyans, and thus it's implied that it's easier for them to attain higher level forms quicker, which is why Kaba and Caulifla and Kale were able to get these powers so quickly, within just a little while, a very short time. And then you wonder, well, wait a minute, so did the Saiyans before them never figure this out? It is a little bit of plot contrivance, in my opinion, but that it is something that has been criticized. Like, how is Caulifla this powerful to be able to go toe-to-toe with Goku? Like, it's weird to me, and to many people. There is an explanation, but I don't know if that's good enough for some people.
Yeah, so you and I actually talked about this, like, several weeks ago, I think, and it was like, if Kaba was fighting alongside Frost, for, who knows, however, like, how long he was doing that, he didn't lose a single comrade. He didn't get angry a single time to the point that he would, turn Super Saiyan. It just really seems weird. It was revealed in one of the episodes before the Tournament of Power even began that Kaba went to talk to Renzo, and he said, hey, like, I would like to recruit you. And he's like, you know what, like, I can't because I'm injured. But if you want to get someone that's, really powerful, has more potential than me, go seek out my sister Caulifla, right? So it was stated by Renzo himself that his sister has, land potential. And also in the Daizenshu, it's even referenced that half-breeds have more potential naturally. And for example, that is why Goten and Trunks, were able to obtain Super Saiyan really quickly because, well, they were born without a tail, right? Which actually goes into the whole thing that they have more potential than Gohan because they obtained Super Saiyan, like, I believe in half the age, half the lifespan. Because they obtained it like at 6 or 7, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, almost. Yeah, and that's the thing is, even at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta states that half breeds are more powerful. It's in the series, like it's in there. But Universe 6 adds another level to it because it's like, okay, well, we evolve differently, completely. There's no human element there, but at least we don't believe there is. But she's still very, very powerful. And then as the tournament progressed, we saw her not just go Super Saiyan, but also go up to SS2, and she wants to do SS3. Maybe they'll do it in the upcoming movie or whatever. But she got really powerful. Same thing with Kale, and there really wasn't an explanation for it other than what we just said. I mean, there was no other explanation for it. Now, when it comes to Rey, she was introduced as a scavenger who, and the thing about her character is she actually represents a Mary Sue much more than what Caulifla did, because it's not just about combat ability. Rey figured out how to fix the freaking Millennium Falcon. She figured out how to fly the Millennium Falcon. She figured out how to infiltrate, like, the Empire. She's sitting there doing Spider-Man moves in the freaking Star Killer, not the Empire, the First Order, in Star Killer Base. She defeats Kylo Ren, and yes, trust me, I know because I defended this for years. I know that Kylo Ren was injured by Chewbacca's crossbow. I know he had just killed his father and was in an emotionally fragile state. But he still lost to a Jedi, which is untrained. Or not a Jedi, a girl, as they put it.
Not even a Jedi.
Yeah, she's not even a Jedi, who's untrained. Now, when the movie came out, all the theories came out that she actually was trained and that she had her memory wiped, or that she was like a virgin in the Force like Anakin, because Anakin was a Gary Stu in episode 1, so it's like, okay, fine. But then when Last Jedi happened, they told us that, no, she's just a girl who her parents were but they were junk traders or whatever. The only explanation that we got for Rey's powers is when Snoke said, darkness rises and light to meet it. He basically says that when a very powerful dark side entity appears, the Force will balance it by creating a powerful light side entity. Now, that's a cool explanation, except for the problem that it's somewhat contradictory, because it only took a few years for Rey to essentially surpass even Luke. She even beat the crap out of Luke at one point in this movie, right? And yet, when the Emperor and Vader were in control, it took like 19 years before the Rebellion got a real, like, victory with the Death Star. So why did it take the Force that long? Like, I of course you can sit there and say the Force, huh?
The Force was slacking.
Yeah, like you could say stuff like the Force works in mysterious ways, but the problem is that we've never seen Rey ever sell, dude. We've never seen Rey ever sell. Like, she just knows how to do everything.
Anakin was a Gary Stu in the first movie because I mean he learned how to be like a pod racer, and then he was like flying one of the Naboo starships, and blew up like the Separatist control center, I believe, which is how they won, and like how the Gungans won like the battle against the droids in the first place. But I believe Anakin even did that accidentally too, so it wasn't like even intentional. But
which is probably worse, to be honest.
yeah, honestly, but.
Yeah.
But I mean, Anakin, he's just a little kid, whatever, and that's why I believe the actor got a lot of shit for that movie because of how he portrayed him. But I mean, it's not his fault, honestly.
He also sucked. I mean, he was a bad actor. Now, there's a Forbes article that you had posted, which is you can look this up too, where Daisy Ridley said that Rey has no weaknesses, and the problem is that even with like Luke Skywalker, like Luke blew up the Death Star in the first film, got a little bit of training from Obi-Wan. Rey, like. Dude, you would think that in Last Jedi, Kylo Ren would have beaten her and gotten his revenge because he's more experienced. He was trained by Luke and Snoke. He knows the light and the dark, and yet he didn't. And Rey is still whooping up on freaking Praetorian guards like nothing, which again, I'm fine with that because they were kind of jabronis. Huh?
Which were supposed to be elite and were hyped up all throughout. Like
they were nothing.
So stupid.
Like, I don't know, dude. Like, and then she... again, I can't defend. If you think Rey's a Mary Sue, I can't defend it anymore after Last Jedi. Do you think so?
What I was hoping is that like they would give you like they would give us some explanation, maybe in the novels, or maybe in Rebels, because it was actually theorized in Rebels that I believe that the theory was that Sabine or one of those characters was like one of the parents of Rey. Or that it could be Obi-Wan. Like I actually believe it was actually kind of teased in an interview when Force Awakens came out. I think they even put like Rey Kenobi or something like that. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, there was a lot of teases about who she might actually be. Like there was tons of them, and then we found out that it's just nobody. Now I'm okay with like the Force randomly picking a person to be strong, but even if you're picked by the Force, you're not perfect. I mean, this chick. She didn't even get injured in this movie, bro. Like, nothing, dude. She walked out unscathed, bro. Like,
even after that whole ordeal.
And the thing about Caulifla is that at least she lost to Goku. At least Caulifla lost to Ultra Instinct Goku. So she has an L on her record. She's not Floyd Mayweather. This chick is just... Rey is unbeatable. And she ain't going to lose in Episode 9 because that's the last one. She has to win again.
Yeah, and, I mean, like, as we said, Luke... or Anakin might have seen like Gary Stu in the first movie, but I mean Luke, he actually lost the fight like in the first movie. Like Obi-Wan even had to save him like against like he was like in the cantina, I believe, and
also the Sand People.
Yeah, that too. And Anakin got his ass kicked by Count Dooku, and then in the third one he finally beat him. After several years of training, I think like 2 or 3 years during the Clone Wars, which shits on Rebels any day. But anyways. The point is that Anakin and Luke, they both struggled. They both had lost several times. They had to, grow and, get stronger in order to surpass the people who beat them. And, Caulifla, she might have not won against Goku, but the thing is, she gained Super Saiyan way too quickly. I mean, like, if they were given a couple days...
You think Universe 6 is a bunch of Gary Stews and Mary Sues, then? Is that what you're telling me? I mean, I'm just, in your opinion.
Okay, look, there is justification for, why they have more potential. But as I said, that shouldn't really mean that they should just access it really quickly or easily, right? I mean, I'll give you an example right now with the midichlorians. We talked about this earlier. And it's that Anakin in the first movie was stated to have a higher midichlorian count than Yoda. But midichlorian count doesn't mean that you're stronger in the Force. It just means you have more potential, which is why Palpatine in the third movie even said, oh, look, Anakin, if he keeps training, he's going to become stronger than either of us, which is very possible because he had really good potential. I mean, in his 20s, he shit on a Sith Lord, Count Dooku, who had like decades and decades of training, right? In both like the light and the dark. If you take that into account, like even Anakin had struggled even though he had great potential, right? He had struggled to gain like enough power.
Yeah, and the Clone Wars depicted him getting better and better and better. They kind of showed us like this dude could have been like the top Jedi, like legit the top Jedi, and it just didn't work out that way.
Yeah, like Caulifla, Kale, Kaba, it's definitely out there. They have good potential. Like, that's justified. We have it in the Daizenshu, we have it in the guides, the interviews, the little, the whole SL thing.
Do you want to compare the SLs to the midi-chlorians? It's almost the same concept, except the only difference is that Toriyama said that the SLs develop higher if you live in a peaceful environment, which is why Goten got so strong, which is why Universe 6, probably because the Universe 6 Saiyans weren't always at war. I mean, we know that they were like freedom fighters, but they weren't always at war. At least that's what's implied.
So, like, I mean, even with all, like, those, pieces of information, it really still doesn't justify why they would gain it so quickly, right? Like in a couple hours, Like even Gohan, and he had a lot of potential, but he took like almost a year to like obtain Super Saiyan. Like even he had trouble.
I'm gonna hit you with this one though, bro. Goku achieved Ultra Instinct in what, 20 minutes? I mean,
yeah.
Is it just super? I don't want to say the word power scaling, but I can't think of a better word. Like just scaling these guys up so that everything makes sense. I don't know, but it really doesn't make sense.
I mean, like, yeah, like, it is kind of weird that Goku would, like, master something that gods have been trying to attain, but, like, I mean, Goku has struggled a lot. He's gotten shit on.
Yeah. And he's trained with gods.
And on top of that, even in Battle of Gods arc, it was hinted that, he had some Ultra Instinct, like, when he backed away from Beerus instinctively, and also when he was training with Whis to fight against Frieza, right? It was already teased, like, several years before that. So, I mean, with Goku, there's still a lot of progression. He has lost several times. He's gotten shit on. And, I mean, Ultra Instinct for him, I mean, it really comes down to, okay, is there at least some justifications for Goku getting it? And people are going to say, oh, you're defending because he's a guy.
No, we're not. You even said Kaba is
yeah,
kind of a
Kaba.
student.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Yeah.
And
don't turn this into an argument. I'm telling the people out there, don't turn it into a sex argument. It's not about that. It's about characters.
I debated this so long, dude. People always bring that up. They always bring the sex thing.
No, they shouldn't, because you could use male characters too. I mean, Jiren could even be seen as a Mary Sue and a Gary Stu in a way, not exactly, but in a way. I think I think okay. Here's my big thing to you: like, are they both Mary Sues? And if so, which one is the bigger Mary Sue in your opinion? Which one is the bigger, like, too OP to where it doesn't make sense?
Rey, because she barely has any justification, if at all, for why she's that powerful. While Caulifla, there's a lot of things even from OG Dragon Ball Z that says, okay, look, Saiyans without tails, or half-breeds, and of course they're more evolved, so that kind of tells you, okay, these guys might have more potential. But as I said, I still think it is ridiculous that they've obtained Super Saiyan in a couple hours, and even grade 2 and 3 in the same day.
Yeah, stuff
like,
that
come on.
It's like. The only explanation is that whole Universe 6 is different kind of mutations, but it's just not a good enough reason, because then you would think that they would be able to go higher and higher, like, from that. I don't know. It's just it's plot armor is really what it is. I mean, that's really what it is. So everybody check out Chuck. Do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Make sure to check out the links in the description, because all the evidence is there, okay? We're not talking out of our ass, we're not putting, confirmed or with proof without actually showing proof. We are actually showing the evidence there. So make sure to check that out. Thank you, Geekdom, for having me on here. I really appreciate it that we actually, got this topic out. But yeah, thank you for having me here, and I really hope you guys enjoyed.
And let us know in the comments if you think either one of them are Mary Sues, and if it bothers you. I mean, because some people like that kind of stuff. Like, Superman is a pretty good allegory, I think, for kind of the hope. I don't want to say hope of the universe, that's Dragon Balls, but you know what I'm saying? But after years, decades of this dude not losing, it's just like how in pro wrestling, you got guys like Roman Reigns who almost never lose. Even though they do lose, they almost never do, and they get booed, because it's almost like the companies, whether it be Toei or Disney or whatever, is shoving these characters down our throats, and we don't want them. Like, Kylo Ren's awesome, but, like, I could do without, like, some of these new characters. Like, I'm not going to get into it. It's a different video, but obviously a lot of the fans wanted to see Luke in action, and they did not get that in Last Jedi, and a lot of them were pissed about it. And you can't even blame them. 40 years of Luke, and we didn't even see him do anything action-wise. But and that's why I think it's harder for Star Wars. With Caulifla, if they get rid of her, and we just have more Dragon Ball with no Caulifla and just Goku and Vegeta and everybody else, I don't think people are going to care that much. I'll be real with you. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, we'll talk to y'all later.